last December and January, my wife Catherine and I ventured to South America, visiting Peru, Argentina and Antarctica. For part of the journey we were joined by our boys Alex and Liam. Instead of squeezing everything into one video, I was spread over 4. Flying into Cusco is special, nestled as it is in the heart of the Andes. No surprises driving through Cusco other than a distinct lack of potholes and so clean. Kath and I were staying at the Novotel with its gorgeous lobby, bar and restaurant, while the boys were up the hill at the intrepid joining hotel, Walkie's Dream. We settled the boys in before venturing out to the Plaza de Armas and a riot of Christmas tarpaulin as the market set up for the holiday period. The Limo restaurant was a haven of tranquility as we enjoyed spectacularly good lomo saltados and ceviche. Heading back to the hotel that night, we wondered how our sleep would go at altitude. I was already feeling it a bit, out of breath and a slight headache. I'd visited Cusco a couple of times back in the 90s and I have to say, super clean, beautifully maintained and full of life. A day tour of Cusco was the order of the next day, as our guide Sol picked us up in a Mercedes minibus. Superb guide this fella, passionate about his culture and stacked full of knowledge. We started at Tambo Makai, followed by a llama farm that was a much better experience than I had anticipated. The boys really liked it, as did I. Cuenco followed by the mightily impressive Sacsayhuaman, the ancient stronghold where the last Incas made their final stand against the Spanish. Such a cool, characterful place. I really didn't expect to enjoy the cathedral tour as much as I did. Saul's commentary was informative without being overwhelming, and the whole place was beautifully illuminated. We finished the day at the beautifully built Incan palace of Cancha, where the Inca truly showed they were master builders, including one incredible brick carved perfectly around a doorway. We were all knackered by the time we returned to the Novotel. One thing for it, a round of pisco sours. The next day, Kath and the boys headed off on the Inca Trail, while I headed to the jungle. And a few days later returned to Cusco to be collected by my guide Juan to journey to Aguas Calientes and Machu Picchu. Next stop, Pisac, which was really very welcome. Pisac is a gentle introduction to the Incan world outside Cusco. Quite scenic with impressive terraces here and the hillsides surrounding. Ollantaytambo has grown massively over the years, but the ruins still dominate all around, overlooked by partially natural rock-hewn images of Viracocha, an Incan warrior and a condor for good measure. Juan really made this place come alive. There is just no substitute for a great guide. I bid farewell to my travelling companions of the day and jumped on the Voyager train to Aguas Calientes for the evening. When I visited Machu Picchu previously, the weather was terrible. My single motivation for this journey was to see Machu Picchu in blazing sunlight. I went to sleep wondering if we would ever see the sun on this journey, and if we did, could it please be mañana. I woke up anxious, pulled the curtains, barely a cloud in the sky, a miracle. The ride up the hill is quite scenic with multiple switchbacks, meaning either side gets good views of the scenery and precipitous drops. On arrival, I could have jumped for joy. But jumping, like tripods, is not permitted. The sun was blazing, misty clouds hung around the mountain tops. This was the Machu Picchu I wanted to experience. It was just awesome wandering around chatting with Javier on all sorts of topics, while drinking it all in. The entrance system used means it never feels overrun. Fully satiated, I got to ride shotgun on the bus on the way down, topping off a perfect morning, and it wasn't even 9 AM. I took the Vista Dome back to Ollantaytambo, a bit like premium economy. It sold as offering enhanced views, which it does, but the big thing for me was the additional legroom and space. A long old bumpy minibus back to Cusco and the magnificent Palacio del Inca, home for Kath and I for the next 4 nights, boys at the Intrepid Hotel. Just a word about the Palacio del Inca. Yes, it is a hotel, but it is worth a visit in its own right. Incan walls superseded by Spanish rebuilding, beautiful courtyards and original 17th century Cuscania art make for a fascinating exploration, plus breakfast and the surface is wildly good. The day finished at Pachapapa restaurant as Kath and the boys Intrepid group caught up one last time, followed by a mojito at KM0. Greatest of days. The next day was always intended as a rest day. Washing and getting bodies and belongings back in order, but first things first, the Palacio del Inca is really nice with a breakfast to match. The pan au chocolat, good grief. Perhaps the highlight of the day was dinner at the Morena Peruvian Kitchen, beautiful restaurant overlooking the plaza. New Year's Eve started with a sunrise visit to the Plaza de Armas to see if the illuminating sun would make an appearance. It didn't. Breakfast, then the boys visited for an excursion to the colourful San Pedro market, highlighted by the purchase of some local football shirts for the boys. We had a bite to eat at Cafe 109 overlooking the plaza and prepared for our cooking lesson. A bit perturbed the boys may not relate. However, those fears were allayed when we met the effervescent Jose, who took us on a ride through Peruvian culinary history, ingredients, fruits, ceviche, pisco and the lomo saltado. Absolute riot from start to finish. As we set things alight cooking, and ourselves with pisco shots with chilies. The evening was New Year's Eve Cuscaña style. We made a booking at Charles for dinner and Alex was tasked with finding a bar for pre-dinner drinks. He succeeded admirably with the very local prohibido, including very local prices. Beers, chips and mojitos there before Kath and I took the plunge and had guinea pig. Fairly anonymous, but done. In the town plaza, a large stage had been erected in front of the cathedral, quite clearly paying homage to the locals' Incan heritage, as was the entertainment. It wasn't lost on us that the sun god Antony was the central figure at this time of year. The symbiosis of Incan religion and Catholicism is handled with subtlety inside the church, but not so much outside. This was never going to be a big night, as we had a 7:30 flight in the morning. Next time, we head into the Amazon.